Hi everybody, this is Chris Phillips, Mr. Socrates Cafe. This is my buddy Leslie Kelly.
Hey, how's it going?
Leslie is chair of...
The Behavioral and Cultural Sciences.
Yes, that's why he's so well behaved and so cultured. Can you see that? Look at that.
Yeah,
See, he knows when to laugh appropriately, and you know I don't, right? So Leslie and I were talking about parenting, and we're sort of comparing notes about things. Leslie, are there universal qualities that the best parents have? You're so committed as a parent. We were talking about C.S. Lewis and how his dad sort of made sure he had a certain kind of quality, cultured education and upbringing that puts many of us to shame.
Absolutely.
Well, so what? I mean, I know there's helicopter parents and tiger moms and dads, but what can we do to be?
Yeah, I would say that there has to be some certain qualities that we all, are oriented toward. Some of the psychology of it, Baumann's parenting styles shows that you want to have an emotional openness to your kids, and
did you say Baumann's or
Baumann's?
Okay.
Baumrind.
Okay.
You want to have an emotional openness and receptivity and
what does
presence.
That mean? Like what?
You want to be emotionally present to your kids. You want to be
good emotions,
sensitive to their emotional state.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you're going to have real, strong rule setting. They need to know that they're guided and they're protected, and the rules help them feel, real protected. I guess I'd take it back to, Plato or Aristotle and some of the capacities. Maybe we should do this while we're driving.
No, it's because I was in a car accident recently, so I'm like, it was my idea to do it. No, this is fun. All right, come here.
Plato and Aristotle, and, the structure of the human person, right? So we're vegetative, we're rational, and we're sensitive, and so we want to try to cultivate each part of our child in the best way, just like we want to care for their bodies and make sure they're well fed. We want to give them pleasures,
yes,
but moderately, and we also, most importantly, I would say, want to give them things that are rationally stimulating to help them develop.
Rationally stimulating,
thinking.
Like what?
I guess more classical literature, stuff that have been things people have been reading for hundreds and thousands of years, rather than the latest greatest thing that just came out. So.
Well, there's this really cool book called The Philosophy of Childhood.
Yeah.
I can't remember who the author was. What is that dude's name? Yeah, but it's too recent. All right, but so I
heard recently that there was a group of high schoolers who were really interested in it.
Yesterday, and they bought my book. Cha-ching!
Yeah.
All right, but let me ask you this: you've got 7 kids.
7 kids.
And probably more coming.
Yeah.
And if I weren't so ancient, I would like 2 or 3 more. I'm actually gonna talk about that with my wife. No, really, I love being a dad.
Present that to.
And I realize it just expands the whole universe of love. I just love being a dad so much, and I was as happy as a childless hubby. I love it. But how do you discover the unique? I mean, you're a chair of a department, you're a husband, you got to prep for classes. How do you have the time to do what you're talking about and discover that uniqueness in each of your children?
Well, I mean, I think you hit the key word there, time. Pope Francis recently said, waste time with your children. And, he's not saying that it's a waste when you spend time with your kids. He's saying, even though we call it a waste, in modern terms, in business terms, it's not, So what I try to do is personally recognize each of them when I get home, so that they see that I'm aware of them and their presence. And then
so you're really conscious and conscientious about this.
I see you, you see me, we see each other. And then really just play with them, roll around on the floor, go outside and get wet, just fun play, Right. I can't remember what philosopher it was that said we're most alive when we play. But there's
a book by Johann Huizinga about Homo ludens. Man, we're the playful man. We're the players.
Yeah. And so I try to always take it back to that playfulness with them. But we also do have regularly scheduled things that we do.
But you do Latin, right?
Yeah, we try to do some Latin studies and do some prayers in Latin and whatnot, and so they know a little bit of Latin here and there, and they're
But
learning
how
more.
early would you start?
Oh, I mean, most of the schools don't start till 6th grade. Some of them 3rd.
Yeah.
But I have my kindergartner learning some Latin.
So like my 3-year-old has already, she wants to know the innards of everything, how everything works.
Yeah.
And so like, it's given me this great opportunity to learn about it. She wants to know why elevators go up and down. So I have to look into the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I have to make sure she doesn't electrocute herself because she likes to see where things stick and stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's important not to give our kids bullshit answers, I guess, right? Like,
don't electrocute your kids. Well, which one? Yes, exactly. But it's also for me this process of discovering things now that I wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they forced me to go really investigate things that I haven't looked into. Absolutely.
Right.
They opened my worldview up. In some ways more than my formal education did. Maybe in different ways.
In different ways. I bet you. Do you think it makes you a better teacher or in the classroom? Or?
Yeah, I mean, in two different ways. Just because I try to. It helps me go back to the wonder that's inherent in life and tap into that.
So, yes.
And then also because all of the freaking stories that I can tell about my kids.
Right.
It's so helpful especially when I'm teaching developmental psychology.
Oh my gosh.
It's amazing.
But so can we cultivate wonder and curiosity that's inborn in kids if we're not also paradigms or paragons of that?
Yeah. No, I think we are in an age where we're trying to teach them specific skills, and what we've done is almost ruled out wonder, and we've ruled out a sense of just open investigation and keeping an open framework toward life. And so what we do is teach them these skills, but we don't teach them how to put it all together with an orientation toward the higher things, things that are more important.
But so we've all got our belief systems, but how do we create that open framework towards life and also try to give that structure, a sense of rootedness, a place? Maybe they won't adhere to the same belief system we do. Maybe that's not even what we're trying to do, but to nonetheless give them, give them like parameters.
Yeah, I think the wonder is the big piece of the puzzle. I was talking to another professor not too long ago, just kind of talking about the literature that in the public schools. I want my kids to get to have more, and to have more classical literature stuff that is really has been around for a long time and has really stood the test of time rather than the newfangled things.
Because you can be more educated and more cultured from 2 centuries ago or a century ago than now.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things he said is like, the most important thing, whether you do it in this format or that format, is just putting the good literature in front of their eyes. And so I've taken that to heart, and trying to find things.
So, for instance,
we've been reading a lot of C.S. Lewis lately.
I love C.S. Lewis.
Yeah, and that's just. We're just actually finishing up the whole Narnia series, and I got to catch up myself.
We're on number 3.
Are you?
Yeah.
We
4.
We read them kind of out of order, or maybe in order.
Well, there's different orders.
Yeah.
And that's what you have. So we're going by the chronological order now instead of this where C.S. Lewis sort of had them where they were published.
Yeah. So we're reading The Magician's Nephew last, and we're just on that one. So. But I'm not sure, what we're going to do next.
Right. But do the best parents, do they have certain ends in mind? Because I remember this man who once contributed to my nonprofit, and he was just a gazillionaire. And he was so disappointed because he was an atheist. And his daughter, he goes, I just can't believe it, my daughter became a Scientologist. He was so disappointed. He reeked with almost resentment. But don't you I mean, they unfold as they unfold. Or should we be disappointed if they don't believe what we believe or don't subscribe to what we subscribe to? Or should we see that as success, that we made them feel comfortable enough to chart their own path?
Explore, yeah. I think there's room for both, is
Room
what
for
I would
both.
say. Like, it's okay for us to be disappointed because we have a particular set of beliefs that
Okay.
we
It's called-
adhere to, and that, when they don't, disappointment makes sense, Otherwise,
Okay.
our beliefs aren't held as very sacred.
Okay.
We don't hold them to be, very important to us if we're okay with people just not believing them. But on the other hand, we also, I think, have to keep present to ourselves the idea that, kids are going to explore and they have to come to things on their own. Otherwise,
I mean, as soon as they leave the door
yeah.
of your house, I mean,
Yeah.
they're gonna, as soon as they have a sleepover with somebody
Yeah,
else.
they're going to explore, and you have to be open to that exploration and help guide them, not
Now-
only as kids but even
Yeah.
as adults.
Now,
you know.
I personally know of family, including many of my relatives, who only let their kids go and spend time with those families they know believe what they believe.
Yeah,
Their world is an orbit that's quite
the bubble.
constricted.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about religious beliefs necessarily.
Yeah,
I know
yeah,
many
yeah.
people who homeschool their kids just because they don't, because the parents themselves are not from a religious belief, but because they themselves are not too social and they don't want their kids to be.
Yeah. No, I think there's room for both. I was listening to something the other day where it's like, or actually reading, or maybe I heard it in two places, but just kind of that reality. I think actually we talked about it too already, just the other day. The reality that it's kind of scary letting your kids out, these days,
It is
because it's
scary.
not as safe as it was 20 or 30 years ago.
So many communities don't even have sidewalks, for God's sake. I mean,
Yeah.
even if there were woods to go to, there's no safe place to get there. And
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it.
But we want to facilitate that exploration in a safe way. So I think
I mean,
how do you make those boundaries
right.
and still allow for the exploration?
I think of Rachel Carson's A Sense of Wonder. I mean, are there even places now that you can go to do that on a regular basis? I think of the coast of Maine, which is like a touchstone for me. And, I wish I had more ready opportunities just to do that with my children,
Mm-hmm.
And yet that might sound like a cop-out. Maybe
Yeah.
I'm just not sort of thinking about, what do I have that I can use? Because it also will have that feedback loop effect of helping stimulate broader and wider reading and imaginative skills, I would think. All those things.
Yeah,
But-
no, that's the hope, is to put literature in front of them that helps them to have just a grandiosity of ideas, not necessarily personality,
Right.
but of ideas where
Right.
they can just come up with the wildest things in their
Right.
mind, and and they don't have to have the constraints of
Right.
maybe strict logic and rationalism yet.
Yeah, I was
One
even
of the
yeah, go ahead.
philosophers that I wrote about when I was doing my philosophy studies was Giambattista Vico, and he made this point.
Ooh, he's one of my faves.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. That he made the point that when kids are young, they just need more imaginative literature,
Right.
because that expands the categories of their mind.
Well, he speaks of poetic wisdom.
Yeah,
He speaks of a lot of things.
And then when they're older, then they learn the more logical, rational methods, and then they can really gravitate toward the highest things and concepts of an eternal nature, because they have done all of this imaginative work when they're young. Whereas if they
Right.
don't do it, then they're kind of stuck in the small categories that life.
Okay, so we're adults and we're talking about
Places
kids,
on
but do we have to make sure we practice what we preach, and so that we're also make sure that we're never stuck? That we really.
Yeah. No, I think sometimes, I talk about playing with my kids, but sometimes I need to do it more because my kids are like, Dad, why are you reading?
Uh-huh.
But I want them to see me read, so that they know that this is an important endeavor,
Like
So
I was telling you how my daughter sees me write,
Yeah.
and now she likes to write beside me.
Oh, yeah.
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 Wasn't my plan, but it's so cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And cultivating that sense of like, Dad doesn't just sit around and watch TV. Dad doesn't just,
We hang out
go
at
play
Texas
sports.
Roadhouse Steaks and go to Sharkarosa. Right.
And we read.
read.
Like that's. I want my kids to see that and see that that's an important.
By the way, how many
part to
teas? How
human-
many teas did you have last night?
How many teas?
Yeah,
did I
that
have?
waitress brought you like 9,000 teas.
I don't know. I drank a lot of tea.
Yeah, you drank
last
a lot
night.
of tea.
For the record, it was an Arnold Palmer though.
What is that?
Tea mixed with some lemonade. And it was
Is that what I
really
had?
delicious. No, you had the lemonade.
I
You
just had
pink
regular
lemonade,
pink lemonade.
yeah.
I just had a pink lemonade.
But it was delicious.
But our
I bet,
friends
'cause
made up.
my-
They compensated. They had lots of beer. They tried to steal a mug, but we'll talk about that later. All right. So, okay, let's look at political beliefs.
Uh-oh.
No, these things are just coming to my mind because there was another parent. He was a labor organizer, and he was devastated when his son became a conservative financial, investment advisor. He felt like he had failed as a father. Again, if your children's political beliefs diverge wildly from
Oh
you,
yeah, no doubt. No
should
doubt.
you
It
be
can go
disappointed or
both
just
ways.
like celebrate that you? I mean, really? But is it another one of those things where?
Yeah, I would think that it's both. I mean, on the one hand, if that person holds their beliefs to in a sense sacred or of highly important of high importance to them, then yeah, you would hope that they would be disappointed by their children's disbelief, because otherwise they're really not being intellectually sincere and honest, right? If those values don't really resonate with them, then I would think that of course it doesn't matter what you do. I don't care what you do, But I do think you also want the other side where it's like, and this is just, I think, good intellectual life in general. Just keeping that openness of mind so that you can really look at all perspectives and try to find whatever value there is in them, even if it radically diverges from your own, And so in that regard, I think we can both celebrate our children's investigation and be disappointed when they're not necessarily looking in the direction that we might want them to. So.
To be continued. This is awesome. Leslie Kelly is one of the coolest people I've met in many, many, many a moon, and we're going to stay in touch. Leslie, thanks, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming.
Say happy Socratising.
Happy Socratising.
Happy Socrating. I sock it to you, Daddy. Bye-bye.